Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Ray Tampa podcast. Our podcast offers bold commentary on various subject matters with a laser-like focus on the truth. My name is Ray Tampa, and I'm the host of the Ray Tampa podcast. We have in our studio two talented and intelligent gentlemen, Mr. Russell Cato and Mr. Jamie Wilson III, my co-host. Today, we're going to tackle a subject that is of the utmost importance here in our county, our state, our region, our country, and globally. Yes, climate change is on the minds of people in every corner of the world for a number of devastating reasons. Whether you're talking about massively destructive hurricanes in the Caribbean islands, Florida, and other Gulf of Mexico states, snowstorms and blizzards in the northeastern states, extreme tornadoes in the Midwestern states, or widespread wildfires in California and other Western states, deadly flooding in many areas of our country, and record-breaking heat waves that engulfed so many areas of our continent and others. Climate change is real. We can see it, feel it, and hear it. Again, climate change is real. I failed to mention the topic title, and I want to back up, even though I've read a little information there. The title of this article is Climate Change is a Hoax. For the life of me, I can't believe how some people could be so stupid as to say something like this. This was not usual for me to read introductory statements and then go back and read the title. I don't know how I forgot that, but that was the title. Continuing, add to all of these concerns the fact that these extreme weather conditions are occurring with a lot more frequency and intensity. Climate change is real. These devastations are causing many lives to be lost, billions of dollars of destruction, significant increases in injuries and health issues. Yet, there are those who would dare to profess a disbelief in the reality of climate change. They boldly say that climate change is a hoax. They expose themselves to the suggestions of insanity. Reportedly, 2023 is on record as being the hottest year in history, while July was the hottest single month ever recorded around the globe. On December 22nd, 2023, MSNBC did a segment titled, quote, Detrimental Health Effects of Climate Change, end of quote. The guest was renowned expert, Dr. Vin Gupta, medical contributor. Dr. Gupta spoke directly to the many ailments that result from climate change. With each episode of extreme and disastrous climate concerns, we have people experiencing serious health problems as a result. The wildfires and the smoke affecting the air quality and people's breathing. The record-breaking temperatures causing people to experience more dehydration and heat strokes. The tornadoes causing so much destruction, loss of electricity, loss of food and water, and loss of life. The hurricanes causing the same problems as the tornadoes. Again, with so much death and destruction from these extreme weather conditions, one has to question the sanity of those who deny the reality of climate change. We don't care to talk about all the technicalities that might cause the extreme weather conditions, such as El Nino, high pressure, low pressure systems, carbon emissions, greenhouse gases, etc., because these are conversations for experts, such as atmospheric scientists and meteorologists. However, we will say that what we see, hear, and feel make us know that climate change is real. It is as real gets. Thank you. All right, well, my co-host and I will go ahead and tackle the discussion. And Jay, what you have?
Okay, you mentioned experts. So all my information came from climate.nasa.gov. So there it is. These are the experts. We all feel it, especially in Florida. We feel it. And you made reference to 2023 being one of the hottest years. I also found that in my research.
Right.
It is very true. So basically it's this organization, IPPC, which is the Intergovernmental Panel of Climate Change. They did it started as a theory, and they did basically a scientific assessment back in the 70s. And they're saying a lot of climate change is basically due to human activity in the world, which goes kind of hand in hand with technology and the dependence on fossil fuel, which is the oil. But yes, we're feeling the effects. Now, in the realm of the theory, they basically said, because I like to know why. I want to know why. So it goes back to the greenhouse effect, global warming. And there's evidence, as you said, I mean, they've gone as deep as like checking out rocks, the rings in trees, the ice cores, the satellite images showing. Even Gore talked about this stuff back in his tenure with the president and all that stuff. He talked about it. He did I think a special or a show, and it went, I don't know, maybe a 50-year span, maybe a 100-year span. I don't know, but it shows the melting of the polar ice caps, which is caused by the warming, which is irrefutable. It's facts. You and I were talking earlier, and you mentioned something like back in the 1800s. You mentioned an individual. What did you say his name was?
Well, it's a Swedish scientist. I don't care to try and pronounce his name. I'll just say a Swedish scientist.
Right. Okay, so since the 1800s, it's been a continued rate. Okay, so since the 1800s, it's been a continued rate of warming, and this has been the most that's happened in any recent millennia. So basically, wanting to know why, like I always do, what's happening is it's manufacturing atmospheric gases, and this is caused by like the sun's energy is being trapped on Earth. And I know I'm going a little deep here, but it's being trapped on Earth, which obviously changes the life on Earth. And we're talking about cryosphere, which is talking about all the frozen stuff, the polar ice caps, and the biosphere, which includes the land. It includes the land and the sea that's unfrozen, because we get a lot of oxygen from the green life under there. So what it's going to do is raise the acid level in the oceans, which would thereby deplete a food source, our fish, all that lobster, crab we're eating. And they're saying by 2050, it's going to raise, it's supposed to be like 1.5. The global warming is going to increase 1.5, and that would basically eliminate a lot of our seafood unless we farm it. So
Okay.
it's more, a little famine going on. Right, Russ?
What you say, Russ?
I'm gonna take it back off with Jamie.
Okay.
Sometime I wish I was back in school taking chemistry and all this kind of stuff. Would be interesting.
Yeah.
Because when you look at climate change, there are two reasons for it. Jamie mentioned greenhouse gases. Now, when you say greenhouse gases, you have to kind of go a little further, because when you're talking about gases, you're talking about carbon dioxide. You're talking about methane gases. You're talking about all these type of gases that are present on the Earth's surface. But what is happening here, as Jamie mentioned it, it's being trapped in the Earth's surface.
Right.
Can't get out.
Right.
When you wake up in the morning, the sun is shining, it comes down on us. But in the afternoon, it got to go back out. But it can't go back out.
Russ.
It can't go back out because it's being trapped like a blanket.
Right.
Yeah,
From
like,
pollution.
that's what it is, and just can't get out.
Mhm.
And another thing is basically just human activities. And I think you mentioned that, if you look at fossil fuel, let's look at it. We've been doing that for a long time, right? Now, the purpose, how can we get away from it? I don't know. Because you're looking at coal, air, and gas, fossil fuel. We've been doing that for a long time.
Right.
What we're trying to do is get away from fossil fuel. But here's where the problem comes in, right? It's becoming a political thing now instead of a health concern.
Right.
You see, I was listening to Trump the other day. He said two things. When I become president, my first day, I'm going to become a dictator. But next, I'm going to drill and drill and drill. He's talking about drilling for oil.
Yeah.
You see what I'm talking about, right?
Exactly what he's talking
That's
about.
what he's talking about,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, when he said, I want to be a dictator on
Yeah.
day one, I want to build that wall, and then I want to drill, baby, drill, baby, drill, baby.
That's
I want somebody to drill a foot up his butt.
That's right.
But at the same time, Trump has been on record as being a climate change denier forever.
Forever.
A change denier forever. As a matter of fact, if I'm correct, I remember he made a statement. Climate change is a hoax. It's just a way for the Democrats to raise taxes.
That's right.
To raise taxes.
And
Speaking of another politician, one closer to home here, that Rick Scott, former governor.
Yes.
For 8 years, it was reported that he did not allow his staff to mention climate change. He denied it. He ignored it. He disrespected it. He didn't want his staff even mentioning climate change. But now that he's a state senator, a United States senator, on his website, I was told that he says that climate change is real and we need real solutions. One statement. He has evolved. But even making that statement, he hasn't done anything to suggest he's interested in resolving the issue or working on the issue. I sent to the two of you some data.
Excellent.
And it had a listing of some of the most devastating climate change events over a period of years. It named the event. It talked about the time frame of the event, how much money that event cost, and how many deaths, how many people died as a result of that event.
Yeah.
And if I'm correct, I think the number one event was Hurricane Ida, if I'm correct. And no, I'm not correct. It was Katrina,
True.
Hurricane Katrina. And that particular hurricane occurred in 2005. $182 billion of destruction. And over 1,000 people died. Now, that particular disaster occurred at a time that I was living in Atlanta. And during the weekend, I wanted to go to New Orleans. I wanted to go gamble. I wanted to go to the casino in New Orleans. The only reason I didn't go was that I couldn't get a comp room. I would have caught a flight to New Orleans as long as I could have gotten a comp room. That was my blessing. I didn't go. I could have gotten caught up in that hurricane situation. But Katrina, $182 billion in damage. But then we had Hurricane Harvey, 2017, $141 billion. $142 billion. Hurricane Maria, 2017, $102 billion. So with all of the destruction that these climate change disasters have caused, and we would have people talking about it's a hoax.
Yeah,
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
no, it doesn't make sense. I think that the whole issue here is sustaining human life on Earth, and we are causing a lot of problems. We really are. And everything goes back to the warming and the carbon dioxide. And yes, it does come from human activity. And then some would say, the naysayers would say, well, you know, we have to progress as humans. So yes, technology causes more human activity with pollution, this, that, and the other. Think about this here. Just think of which we don't. A lot of us don't. You know, like our food, like all the cows, the mass production of cows. Think about
Livestock.
all the methane that they brought
Methane.
out. No, that's an actual issue.
Yeah, livestock.
Which,
Sure.
yeah, the livestock. So
Sure.
we're like, hurry up, you know,
Sure.
pumping them out. It's much more bigger, much larger, because there's more people on Earth as well too, but it's still going up in the air. And that's an issue as well. The same with the big building blowing off tons and tons of pollution in the air, the methane. So we gotta kind of corral in some of our activity to thwart this issue, because it's only getting worse. And it's like a double-edged sword. Yeah, technology is great, blah, 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 but we're still hurting and killing ourselves. So we got to find a way to control it.
But you know what? And I say this. If you look at climate change and gun control, these are the two biggest issues facing us today.
Before you go any further, I
Yeah,
want to say this.
go on.
Before you came in, I
Go on.
just said to Jamie
Yeah,
that I was listening to a report
Yeah.
and they were interviewing a young lady out of Orlando.
right,
They were interviewing young people
right.
Mhm.
to get their ideas
Right.
as to the top topics
Yeah.
of concern.
Mhm.
And this young lady said the number two concerns are the two that you said: gun violence and climate change.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go ahead, Russ.
But you know, the reason they cannot do it, because there are two issues here. One is called self-identity and the other is called mutual identity.
Self
You-
and mutual.
That's right.
Mhm.
See, that's what President Trump is self.
Mhm.
You see, it's self-identity.
Me.
That's what it is. Instead of, and they know what's going on, like they know they can do that, but they don't want to come to this mutual identity because they believe that you're helping others. They only want to help themselves.
Mhm. 1%.
That's all.
Well,
see,
the thing about it is you're so right.
that's crazy.
And it seems as though it's all the people in a particular
Yeah,
party
yeah, true.
that come to these conclusions of helping themselves.
I'll say
To
Republican.
hell, yeah, to hell with the rest of the population.
Mhm.
As I was mentioning, a politician closer to home.
Oh.
Let me identify the clown. Former Governor Rick Scott denied climate change, denied climate change,
Yeah.
denied climate change, didn't want to talk about it, definitely didn't want to do anything about it.
Yeah.
But there's some irony. There's some irony in that because this clown has a $9.2 million mansion
You see that?
that is only about 10 to 12 inches above sea level.
Mhm.
And his home is 200 feet from the edge of the ocean. And he'd rather not do anything about climate change and watch his home get flooded away.
Mhm.
That's as stupid gets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
You know, he lives right there on the Gulf Coast in Naples. In
Sure.
Naples.
You know, if you look at the state of Florida, when it comes to knowledge, scientific knowledge, they recognize it, but they so damn stupid that they don't want to deal with it in the right way.
Mhm.
Go back to COVID. You know, when I look at DeSantis tell me that he was okay with COVID, how he was successful, we had more people that died in the state of Florida under COVID, under DeSantis, and he felt like he was successful.
Good point, Russ. More people in Florida died.
Died,
The
yeah.
statistics are not in our favor, but DeSantis being the clown he is, he
Yeah,
kept those statistics
Yeah.
buried.
Right.
that's what he did.
Right.
They had to sue
Yeah.
to force him to release that data. And he hired a Surgeon General.
Brother.
Mhm.
Oh my God.
Puppet.
A puppet, a
Dumb, dumb
puppet, a puppet, a
Oh,
puppet.
brother, yeah.
This guy, he created narratives
Yeah.
only to benefit whatever DeSantis said
And still doing it.
and still doing it.
Still doing it.
While people are dying, he's creating false narratives.
Mhm.
He's going against the dictates of
Yeah.
natural scientists.
Right.
True.
Right.
But going back to climate change,
You're right.
as we stated earlier, this year, 2023,
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
was the hottest on record.
On record.
We felt it.
No, I
Especially in
did.
Florida.
Felt
Especially in
it.
Florida.
No, I did.
And we saw the results. We saw the results of people being hurt by the heat.
Yes. It was wonderful.
And we have people that were so bold enough to say, oh, it's not real.
Yeah.
It's a hoax.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
hoax. But I want to mention some other damning statistics. I mentioned 3 of the top damaging disasters, and I mentioned Katrina, Harvey, Maria, and the 4th one, Hurricane Sandy. Hurricane Sandy up in New York in the eastern coast of the US, $75 billion. And then Hurricane Irma, 2017,
Yes.
that was $56 billion. We're talking billions and
Right.
billions.
Yeah.
And
True.
there are 31 listings in this report, 31 listings with wildfires,
Yeah.
United States, 2017, $20 billion. And that's the least amount of damage, $20 billion.
It's a lot of money.
$20 billion. And right above that one is Hurricane Laura, $20 billion.
Yeah.
So where's all this money coming from to repair all this damage? Actually, there's some hurricanes that have occurred and people still haven't recovered.
Right. And
24 months.
it's the greed of, it's just greed. It's just greed. They don't want to. That's why it's the denial. They want to continue our you know, they want continue with fossil fuels. They don't want the electric thing. They don't want to reduce anything because it's money, money, money. You're going into their pockets. That's why they're denial. And it's going to be sustained, continued human activity as we evolve and more technology things get better, you know, as we grow with technology. And they were talking about that. They said human activity has increased 250 times faster and with technology and just degradation to the earth from 2016 to 2020. And of course, we're also talking about Greenland and Antarctica. They're showing like how the ice sheets have melted. And we're talking for Greenland, Iceland, the sheets has decreased by 270 billion tons of ice per year. 270 billion tons of ice per year between 1993 and 2019. With Antarctica, it's 148 billion tons. And it's coming from the NASA. It's coming from NASA per year during the same span. So, which means water levels are going to rise. And it was causing a lot of this stuff. You know, the glaciers are decreasing. Snow is melting much faster. Sea levels are rising. Record low temperatures are decreasing. Record low temperatures. All that negative this, negative that. Well, how the records have been set in the past, well, that's decreasing. So we're not getting as many record low temperature reportings, which is scary. Which is proof of warming. Increased ocean acidity, which has increased by 30% due to human activity. It's because what the ocean has been doing to help us out is like a filtration system. All that plankton and stuff, it's been absorbing all of this pollution and stuff in the air for a long, long time. But now they're seeing where it's kind of hurting that. You think the Congos and all these jungles, we get the majority of our oxygen? No, photosynthesis under the water, which create oxygen. We get the majority from underwater. That's why the water is so important to us. So if the oceans become overly acidic, that's going to be that's going to affect us as humans because of our oxygen. We get the majority, not from trees, underwater, from plankton and photosynthesis. So that's why it's such a serious. And not only that, if we increase that 1% as they projected in 2050, and it gets 1.5 degrees warmer, then the permafrost under the ground, the layers, just think all these heavy structures we got. Well, that's going to begin to melt. So all these giant buildings and monstrosities that we built, it's going to turn mud at the bottom, and you're going to get a lot of sinkholes. You're going to get like more world sinkholes and all this other stuff.
Well, Ray said something a few minutes ago, and what you were saying now, the money that is taking place of billions and billions of dollars. The thing that we should look at, why is this? Why it's still like that? Well, fossil fuel, Saudi Arabia, big oil nation. I look at, what's that guy named out of West Virginia? Joe Manchin? Is that his name?
Yeah.
Oh, man, that's a hypocrite from hell.
Hypocrite from hell.
Hypocrite from hell. That's what he is.
I like that, Russ.
That's exactly what he is. Now, when you talk about fossil fuel, you got to say, man, do I drop Saudi Arabia? Do I drop the people in Venezuela? See, these are money things, man. These are big money ventures. And these people know that.
Speaking of that point, let me jump on because it's time that we wrap it up. Donald Trump made a statement. The concept of global warming was created by and for the Chinese in order to make United States manufacturing non-competitive.
Yes.
He also said something else stupid. The weather has been so cold for so long that the global warming hoaxsters were forced to change the name to climate change to keep the dollars flowing.
That's right.
That clown. But at any rate,
they believe.
guys, we're at the end, and time is always forced upon us.
Mhm.
Being that the case, I want to thank my co-host for a job well done, as always. I want to thank you, the listeners, for tuning in to the Ray Tampa podcast on 99.1 FM The Bird. And ask that you do so each and every Tuesday evening, 5:30 p.m. and listen to the Ray Tampa podcast. You can also tune in to YouTube by typing in the Ray Tampa podcast, and you can see them all. Sponsorships are welcome. And with all that being said, good evening.